to the Clarity Challenge, and welcome to part 7 of our ongoing discussion on the struggle with being single. That discussion has been amazing. The more we delved into it, the more we discovered so much that there is for us to discuss about, because we realize that a lot of people are still struggling with attaining, achieving, becoming single. The truth is that whether you are married or whether you are unmarried, the task to achieve, to attain singleness is a critical requirement. Of course, we have established that being single does not necessarily mean that you are unmarried. No. We have said that whether you are single, unmarried or married, you need to achieve singleness. As an unmarried person, you need to achieve, being that you are unmarried does not necessarily mean that you are single. And even after you get married, the couple needs to achieve singleness as a couple. And that this attainment is critical for maximizing life and its outcome. We have said in very clear terms that singleness, to be single, is an art that has to be learned. If it is not learned, it is not attained. You are not born single, you become single. This is profound. This is important. Of course, we have established that the art to be single is an art. It is the art to be alone, to be intact and whole, to be independent and complete. That is what it means to be single. It means that you have an identity, definite, authentic identity, discovered, consolidated, and being executed. It is the reason why even in marriage, God's design, God's authentic purpose for marriage is that even when couples become married, they need to learn the art, capacity to dissolve their individuality into one corporate identity, one corporate brand. But you see, it is your ability to discover your individuality and authenticity as an unmarried person that provides the platform to be able to now, because it's a little bit more complicated in marriage, to now dissolve two identities, dissolve two brands into one corporate, indivisible, conglomerated brand. That's the design of God when He says the two becomes one flesh. For most marriages, they have a corporate name. The woman has dropped her name. She has adopted the name of the man. But they just have a corporate name. They don't have a corporate identity. They don't have a corporate brand. Of course, beginning from what we discussed earlier, the importance of a corporate vision, which is lacking. Corporate vision statement, mission statement, core values, which is lacking in its clearest terms in most marriage. It is the reason why the more single we get as unmarried people, the better prepared we are to maximize the marital experience. This is so profound. We have said in very clear terms that singleness is a disposition that should be enjoyed even in marriage. The purpose of part 7, today's discussion, is to talk more to married folks. Of course, the single folks need to still listen to this because they need to be prepared on how to execute the same when they get into marriage. Talking to married folks on how to achieve singleness, both individually and collectively in marriage. We have to be able to attain singleness individually. It is the processes that we undertook in attaining singleness individually that makes us understand the processing for becoming single one mind, Paul writing in almost all the epistles, the emphasis, repeated emphasis on becoming of one mind is what defines us, attaining singleness collectively in a marriage setting, so that we're able to develop a corporate brand, a corporate identity, a corporate message, and then a corporate operation. For me, this is so important. For us to be able to achieve this in marriage, it is important. It is critical. First of all, that we must identify our difference, because the truth is that we are different. Two completely different, two individuals, two persons with different identities, sometimes different values, sometimes different preferences, sometimes different upbringing, and then the coming together. We must, number one, identify what makes us different. Number two, we must accept what those differences are. Identify it, accept it. Then we must, if we have truly accepted our differences, then we have to celebrate those differences. We have to celebrate, enjoy those differences. It is when we accept, identify, accept, and celebrate our differences, then we can graduate it to the point where we can talk about maximizing those differences. So attaining a corporate unified identity is about maximizing those differences. I have listened to a lot of married people all across the world. In many marriages, when couples are doing exceptionally well until they attempt to work together. I'm amazed. Couples are doing exceptionally well until they want to do business together. They want to run their business together. Couples are doing exceptionally well until it's time to sit down and hold practical conversations. Conversations that has to do with process, conversations that has to do with operations, conversations that has to do with what should happen, when it should happen, where it should happen, why it should happen. Until those conversations are going to hold, they're doing fine. But as soon as they must sit down and spend time together, then they must quarrel, they must disagree, then there must be misunderstanding, then there must be conflict. And so for most marriages, for most families, the only way to retain their sanity of mind, talking about the couples, the only option for them is to mind their different businesses. If you ask me, those marriages were never necessary. People just got married because they were old enough to get married. People just get married because their parents want grandchildren. People just get married because hormones are speaking, their reproductive systems demanded attention, and then people just get married. And oftentimes, many of these marriages were not necessary because they defeat the very essence, the very vision goal for couples, which is for the two to become one flesh. Attaining a unified corporate entity was God's ultimate desire for couples when they come together. Because at the end of the day, the more we work separately, the more divided we become. The more we work separate, and of course, I'm not doing this presentation to tell you that you must do business together if that destroys your marital union. I'm not saying you must do stuff together. Maybe you should do what works for you. But I'm establishing the fact that the way you are going about it defeats the entire essence of marriage. Listen, when the priest joined you together, or when the court joined you together, they declared you one. That's a legal statement. To become vitally one requires that you practically, intentionally sit down to work it out. Oftentimes in marriages, partners are too intelligent for themselves. One partner is too smart for the other. One partner is too intelligent for the other. One partner is too proud for the other. So everyone is displaying his intelligence, his wisdom, his skill at outsmarting the other person. And that is why we can't give it up. We can't let the other person have their way. We always, each person wants to have their way all of the times. And that is why it has to be the way it is. Friends, to maximize our differences, we might have to develop a relationship identity, a marital identity and brand, we must be able to use our unique strengths to create and connect with a unique audience and provide solutions to our world. I think the challenge that we have is that many couples fall in love, get married, and assume that the job is completed. And a lot of the times they tend to believe that everything else will work out automatically. But hardly could anything else be further from the truth. Time and time again, outcomes, statistics have shown that things don't work or happen on their own. All objects will continue to maintain a state of inertia until not just a force, but a relevant force is applied to them to take them to intended locations and places. I therefore believe that a successful marriage that attains individuality, uniqueness, and singleness, that becomes intact, complete, and independent, is not attainable. It doesn't come so spontaneously or by chance. Instead, what happens is that for that to happen, a successful marriage to happen, it must involve two people working together, working out small differences as well as big differences to arrive at something beautiful and amazing. And it reminds me of Plato. Plato, the philosopher, in trying to describe marriage, gave an illustration using the instrumentality of a ladder. A ladder. If you take a minute and just close your eyes and then imagine for a minute or two, imagine that you can see a ladder that has 15 rungs on the ladder. Imagine again that you can see that that same ladder has only 2 rings. It has 15 rungs, but it has 2 rings. It has 15 rungs, but it has 2 rings. Now, the question is, which one will be stronger? Let's say you have a ladder that has 15 rungs. You have another ladder that has 2 rungs. And what I mean by rung is the vertical, the horizontal strokes. Let's say you have this ladder and it has 15 horizontal strokes. And then you have a second ladder, it has 2 horizontal strokes. And if I were to ask you which of them will be stronger, you will agree with me that the ladder that has 15 strokes, horizontal strokes attached to the vertical, that one will be stronger. In trying to illustrate what marriage is all about, or to illustrate growth in marriage relationship, Plato said that the two vertical strokes represent the man and the woman, whereas the 15 rungs, horizontal strokes on the ladder represents those things that bring them together, those things that inseparably keeps them, draws and holds them together in inseparable companionship. Plato said that the more, permit me to use the word the mania, the more the number of horizontal strokes in a ladder in a given marriage, the more that marriage is likely to last longer, the more useful, the more sustaining, the more it will survive. Why? There are too many things holding the marriage together. There are several mutual attractions, mutual activities. As a matter of fact, Plato said on those rungs, the lowest is physical attraction, and the highest is agape, what you call selfless love, what you call unconditional love, preferably. Unconditional love is the highest on the rung of the ladder, while physical attraction is the lowest and least important. Incidentally, it always begins with physical attraction. But if it ends at physical attraction, then it will not survive. But as you go, as much as there are several mutual attractions, mutual advantages, then the marriage becomes a unified, a strong, intense union. It is the reason why you want to take the time to study how many things that are mutual attractions, mutual interests, mutual activities, the many, the more, then the hope for a stronger union and the hope for maximized relationship. Now, what you do is to identify those different areas. Those different areas can be the things that make you different or the things that make you similar. Whatever those things are, and this is important because sometimes in a marriage, one person spends, is good at spending, the other person is prudent with finances. In a lot of the times in marriages, one person is introverted, the other person is extroverted. In marriages, one person is sanguine, the other person is phlegmatic or whatever. Now, those differences can become an advantage. There are dimensions we get to in our relationships where the phlegmatic must take the front burner, where the person that knows how to be prudent must take the front burner. It is our ability to understand these differences and know when they should play out in our operations that create the beauty that I'm talking about. So creating an identity through mutual interests and unique gifts becomes profound, becomes critical, becomes the focus of my discussion, and becomes what should be the focus for every marriage. For every marriage. So we have to be able to clearly identify our several mutual interests and attractions. We have to be able to define what our unique strengths and gifts are, and then that will build us into a tag team, and then we can now develop that into a brand, and this will create a unique identity for our marriage. It reminds me of a couple. I think it's Go Gay Africa. If you watch it on television, you see that amazing couple that have been able to put their difference together. They're touring the entire globe, identifying difference in culture, difference in lifestyles, and celebrating those lifestyles. And trust me, they are doing amazingly well. So there's a sense in which I think that couples need to go for training on branding, to be able to sit down and take the time to brand their relationship. It is an amazing and a critical tool for advancing our relationships. We look at our relationships as if they were careers, and then we use it to advance them. And it is so important that just like we use it in the creative world, we can use it in the narrative to change the narrative for our relationships. I believe that the principles of branding can be used by any couple who want to clearly communicate why they are the best tag team to solve or provide a service, solve a problem, or provide solution for the audience that they want to impact. This can only be possible with intentionality. Right from before they go into marriage, a lot of these things should be part of their considerations. Now they're in the marriage, they have to sit down to make it work, make it become a possibility. I'll just run through certain basic stuff and I'll be done. But I can't exhaustively talk about branding here. I believe that couples need to go take a class together on branding. And interestingly, a lot of them are good at branding. They brand their businesses, they brand their enterprises, they brand whatever it is they're doing. The only area they have never been able to succeed is branding the relationship and then applying the branding principles in their life career, in their businesses, in the things they're doing. I believe it should begin at the home level and the marriage level and then spread out into whatever it is that their businesses are. One of the things I can't handle is a situation where I can't handle the fact, and I'm not saying it's standard behavior. I'm not saying everybody must adopt it, but I can't put it together that I'm married and this is my wife's business and this is my business. It doesn't work for me. No, I don't have nothing. It's our business. She has nothing. It's our business. It's our money. That's the way I function. That's the way I function. So we sit down, we have business meetings, we sit down, we have board meetings that discuss our several family businesses. It doesn't matter whether she has the strength, the skill. My spouse, when she was alive, was an educationist. I gave her all the intelligent support as one that has an edge in organizational leadership. I gave her all the support she needed to build the school, to build the brand. And she put in place an amazing school, an amazing edifice. The last time I checked, that school was in excess of 180 pupils. I'm not an educationist in the sense of I don't have the kind of experience and exposure that she has. And then she has the vision, she has the passion. But I stood behind her and made sure that that worked. It was our corporate vision. Putting educational facilities and schools and institutions was my vision, but I didn't have the skill. It was her vision, but she had the skill. We partnered together and drove that vision. What came out was our corporate identity. When I invested in it, I wasn't doing her a favor. I was doing the corporate brand a favor. I was doing the corporate vision a favor. It was something we did together. We sat down together, we brainstorm, we hold meetings, we strategize, we go out, we execute. It was, for me, it's an amazing experience. So I can't configure, I can't conjure up, I can't manage the idea of a couple in a marriage and doing their different things. It doesn't work for me because it defeats the purpose, the design, the essence of God in putting marriage together. I believe that if we do these things, it will create a strong, unified entity. Listen, there's a way you brand and execute your marriage and your relationships. Third parties, it becomes impenetrable for third parties. It becomes impenetrable. Even the devil can't mess with a marriage that is indivisibly one. Let me round up quickly by saying that there are 4 quick steps that can help you develop a corporate brand for your marriage. For every brand, there are 4 key ingredients that must be there. Number 1, you have to have a message. Every brand has a message they're trying to communicate to their world. It is the reason why Steinway has a message. They say they're the first pianos in the world. It is the reason why Nike has a message. They said they just do it. It is the reason why Coca-Cola has a message. It is Coke is it. It is the reason why 7-Up has a message. The difference is clear. There has to be a message. What is your message as a couple to the world? What does your relationship represent to the community, to the environment, to what is your assignment as a couple? There has to be a corporate assignment, a corporate identity. Every other thing falls into place. At the beginning of a marriage, the wife's dreams must be on the table. The husband's dreams must be on the table. These dreams will be dissolved into one entity. Create a brand out of it, and everyone is there, involved in ruthless execution of the brand. It is impossible in that kind of setting to even think of divorce. You put in so much, you are so one, you're so united, you are so together that any separation is deadly, is fatal for anybody. I believe that as couples, we should not waste our pain. If we both experienced a similar mess in life, it makes it easier to develop a message that reflects that mess. Whether it's a pain, whether it's a problem, whether it's an experience, whether there are horrors or tragedies, that mess becomes our message as a couple. So you don't need to waste your pain, make it a campaign. You don't need to waste your mess, make it a message as a couple. You don't need to waste your mistakes, make it a mission. You don't need to waste your vices, make it a vision. That's the reason God brought you together. The second thing is that you don't just have a message as a brand. Your message must express what makes you unique and memorable as a couple. It must express what makes you unique and memorable. So whenever you appear on the stage, on the world stage, you represent something that makes you one indivisible corporate united entity. The third thing is that message must distinguish you from your competition. The message must be so precise that it separates you. There is no competition. When you stand out, you have something different to offer. So there's nobody competing with you because you have created a niche for yourself. The fourth and the last is that this uniqueness and distinguishing factor enables your target audience to connect with you emotionally, and then they want to work with you, and then they want to work for you. I'm afraid I have so much more I would like to share with you, but I got to stop here. All I'm saying is that for us to attain, for us to dissolve our individuality as a couple into a single entity, to become one, therefore shall a man leave his father and cleave to his, leave father and mother and cleave to his wife. God desires and designed that men and women should come together, a man and a woman should come together and cleave and become one. One in words, one in mind, one in thought, one in action, one in beliefs, one in values, one in vision, one in all of its entirety. I pray that we are able to develop capacity to really sit down and make oneness our vision, make oneness our goal. Never forget, if you are able to achieve oneness, singleness, intactness, individuality as a single, it makes it easier to come into marriage and apply the same processes and principles with your partner to achieve that unified identity. It will make all the difference. I want to hope that I have been able to address the fact that even though as married people, we can decide not to lose our individuality, not to lose our singleness, not to fail to enjoy singleness, even in marriage. I just hope I added some value. I hope I gave you something to think about. I hope I gave you something to work on that can change the narrative for your relationship. And for those who are singles, unmarried, about to go into marriage, I hope it gives you an assignment on what to begin to do, to think upon, to work on, to arrive at these given destinations. The more our mutual attractions are, the more they are, the more varied they are, the more they are, the more the merrier, the more the stronger the bond, the more the better. Thank you so much. I hope you enjoyed this. I'll see you again.